Everyone, I am Sujit. I have come up with direct tax illustration exercise videos of ICI Study Mat. Hope it will be very fruitful for everyone appearing in normal examination. I have edited the PDF file of ICI and removed all the provision parts, and in the PDF link given in the description contains only illustration exercises. Hope you will like it. So here is the illustration. I'm starting with the chapter income from other sources. The illustration 1 goes like this. A Limited, a domestic company, received dividend of rupees 170 lakhs for the year financial year 18-19 and distributed the same on 10th July 2019. Mr. X, holding 10% shares in A Limited, received dividend of rupees 17 lakhs in July 2019. Mr. Y, holding 5% shares in A Limited, received dividend of rupees 8.5 lakhs. Discuss the tax implication in the hands of A Limited, Mr. X and Mr. Y, assuming that Mr. X and Mr. Y had not received dividend from any other domestic company during the year. That means dividend, as we all know, that dividend if the domestic company gives dividend to any domestic company give dividend, then they have to pay dividend distribution tax under section 115(o). And in the hands of recipient, if any income is received by way of dividend in excess of 10 lakhs, then it will be taxable under section 115 BBDA. So the solution goes like this. The dividend of rupees 170 lakhs declared and distributed in the previous year 1920 is subject to dividend distribution tax under section 115(o) in the hands of A Limited. First of all, the dividend received has to be grossed up. As we all know, the dividend distribution tax is to be while payment of tax is to be grossed up. So has to be grossed up by applying the rate of 15%. The gross dividend is 200 lakhs. How 200 lakhs came, that is shown 170 into 100 divided by 85. And dividend distribution tax at the rate of 17.472 is 34.944 lakhs. How 17.472 came, that is 15% plus 12% surcharge plus 4%. Okay, so now in the hands of the Mr. X and Mr. Y, how it will be taxable. In the hands of Mr. X, dividend received up to rupees 10 lakh would be exempt under section 1034. In excess of 10 lakh it will be taxable, as we all know. So 7 lakh being dividend received in excess of 10 lakh would be taxable at the rate of 10% as per section 115 BBDA. Such dividend would not be exempt under section 1034. In excess of 10 lakh, it is saying in excess of 10 lakh it won't be exempt. It will be taxable under section 115 BBDA. Therefore, tax payable by Mr. X on dividend of rupees 7 lakh under section 115 BBDA would be rupees 72,800. That is 10% of 7 lakh plus health and education cess at the rate of 4%. Okay. And in the hands of Mr. Y, entire dividend will be exempt because it does not exceed 10 lakh. In the hands of Mr. Y, the entire dividend of rupees 8,50,000 received would be exempt under section 1034, since only the dividend received in excess of 10 lakh would be taxable under section 115 BBDA. Okay, so hope you have understood illustration 1. Now illustration 2. Dhaval is in business of manufacturing customized kitchen equipments. Okay, he is also the managing director and held nearly 65% of paid up share capital of Arab Private Limited. A substantial part of the business of Dhaval is obtained through Arab Private Limited. For this purpose, Arab Private Limited passed on the advance received from its customers to Dhaval to execute the job work entrusted to him. The assessing officer held that advance money received by Dhaval is in the nature of loan given by Arab Private Limited to him, and accordingly is deemed dividend within the meaning of the meaning of provision of section 222E of the Income Tax Act. The assessing officer therefore made addition by treating the advance money as a deemed dividend, examine whether the action of AO is tenable in law. As we all know that any amount which is given by a company in which public are not given by a company in which public are not substantially interested to its shareholders in holding 10% more voting powers, or then it will be deemed as dividend in the hands of the company, and company is liable to pay dividend distribution tax on deemed dividend. So in this case it won't be deemed dividend because it is in the course of nature of commercial trade and commerce, so it won't be taxable under a deemed dividend. So we see the solution like this. As per section 222e, in case a company, not being a company in which public are substantially interested, makes payment of any sum by way of advance or loan to shareholders holding not less than 10% of voting power या share capital of the company, then the payment so made shall be deemed to be dividend in the hands of such shareholders to the extent to which company possesses accumulated profit. Only to the extent of accumulated profit company possesses accumulated profit, that is deemed as dividend. But in this case, in the present case, Dhaval is holding 65% of the paid up share capital of Arab Private Limited, in which public are not substantially interested. Arab Private Limited has passed on advance received from its customers to Dhaval for execution of job work entrusted to the Dhaval. Okay, since Arab Private Limited is not a company in which public are substantially interested, the applicability of the provision of section 222e in respect of such transaction has to be examined. Okay, in CIT versus Rajkumar 2009 318 ITR 462 Delhi, it was held that trade advance given to shareholders which is in the nature of money transacted to give effect to the commercial transaction would not amount to deemed dividend under section 222. So as I told you before, that is in the nature of trade advance. Okay, the Delhi High Court ruling in CIT versus Ambassador Travel Private Limited 2009 318 ITR 376 also supports the above view. In the present case, the payment is made to Dhaval by Arab Private Limited for execution of work is in the course of commercial business transaction, and therefore it cannot be treated as deemed dividend under section 222e. Hence, the action of assessing office is not tenable. So we can see that Dhaval has received advance, but it is in the nature of trade and commerce, and it is not not given normally without any trade occur. It is in the commercial transaction, so that advance received by Dhaval is not deemed as dividend, and it is not taxable in the hands of Arab Private Limited. There is a note given over there. This can also be answered on the basis of circular. We can also answer the same thing on the basis of circular. They are saying that the CBDT has in its circular clarified that it is a settled position that trade advance which are in the nature of commercial transaction would not fall within the ambit of word advance in section 222e, and therefore the same would not be treated as deemed dividend. Circular is also saying the same thing. Since the payment is made by Dhaval to Dhaval by Arab Private Limited for execution of work is in the course of commercial business transaction, and therefore the advance cannot be treated as deemed dividend under section 222e. Hence, the action of assessing officer is not tenable in law. Okay. If it would not have been a commercial transaction, then it would obviously been deemed dividend under section 222, and Arab Limited would have to pay their dividend distribution tax under section 222e. Illustration 3. MNO Private Limited is a company in which public are not substantially interested. K is the shareholder of the company holding 15% of the equity shares. The accumulated profit of the company as on 1st October 2019 amount to 10 lakh. Accumulated profit is 10 lakh of MNO Private Limited. The company lent 1 lakh to K by an account pay bank draft on 1st October 2019. The loan was not connected with the business of the company. Okay. K repaid the loan to the company by an account pay bank draft on 30th March 2020. Examining the effect of borrowal and repayment of loan by K on the computation of his total income for the assessment year 2021. Okay, So as we see that MNO has given loan to K, a shareholder who is holding more than 10% of the shares, equity shares, and company has accumulated profit of 10 lakhs. But it is not in the course of trade as we have seen in the previous sum. So the amount lent is 1 lakh only. So it is up to the accumulated profit, within the accumulated profit. So 1 lakh will be deemed a dividend under section 222E. It won't affect that whether whether K has repaid the loan or not. It won't be affected. It will be deemed as dividend whether K has repaid the loan or not. Okay. As per section 222E, any payment by a company in which public are not substantially interested by way of advance or loan to a shareholder, being a person who is beneficial owner of shares holding not less than 10% of the voting power, voting power, shall be treated as deemed dividend to the extent to which company possesses accumulated profit. Okay. In the instance, MNO Private Limited is a company in which public are not substantially interested. Okay, it is not. The company has accumulated profit of 10 lakhs as we all have seen on 1st October 2019. The loan given by the company to K was not in the course of its business. As I said, K holds more than 10% of the equity shares in the company. Therefore, assuming that K has voting power equivalent to its shareholding, section 222 comes into play and MNO Private Limited has to pay dividend distribution tax under section 115O at the rate of 34.944%. That is 30% plus surcharge 12% plus health and education says 4%. As we all know that under section 222E we don't have to do grossing up as we have done, as we used to do in while paying dividend distribution tax under section 115O, as well as grossing up concept is applicable under section 222A, B, C, D, not in E, on that is 34.944% on 1 lakh, representing the amount lent by the company to K. Deemed dividend of rupees 1 lakh under section 222E would be exempt under section 1034 in the hands of K Limited. As company is paying tax, K has received dividend only up to rupees up to 10 lakh, so it would be exempt under section 1034. Under section 222E, the liability arises the moment the loan is borrowed by the shareholders and it is immaterial whether the loan is repaid before the end of the accounting year or not. It is immaterial, as I said. Therefore, the repayment of loan by K to the company on 30th March 2020 will not affect the taxability of the sum of rupees 1 lakh as deemed dividend. Okay. Next illustration is illustration number 4. Mr. A dealer in shares, received the following without consideration during the previous year 1920 from his friend Mr. B. He received the following thing: cash gift of rupees 75,000 on his anniversary 15th April 2019. As we all know, cash gift in excess of 50,000 will be taxable. If it is received from relative, then it will not be taxable. Mr. B is not his relative, it's not covered in the definition of relative, so it will be taxable. Bullion, the fair market value of which was 60,000 on his birthday on 19 June 2019. Bullion is covered in the definition of movable property, so it will be covered in the other sources and it will be taxable as if the amount of bullion, fair market value bullion, exceeds 50,000. Okay. And Mr. B is not covered in the relative as said, so it will be taxable. A plot of land at Faridabad on 1st July 2019, the stamp duty value of which is 5 lakhs on that date. Mr. B had purchased the land in April. As Mr. B has purchased the land, when Mr. B has purchased, it's irrelevant. Mr. A is receiving the land from Mr. B without consideration and the stamp duty value exceeds by 50,000, so it will be taxable on the income from other sources, as the stamp duty value exceeds by 50,000, that is 5 lakh. It is 5 lakhs. Mr. A purchased from his friend Mr. C, who is a dealer in shares, 1000 shares of, who is also a dealer in shares, 1000 shares of XYZ X Limited at rupees 400 each on 19 June 2019, fair market value of which was 600 each on that date. Mr. A sold these shares in the course of his business on 23rd June 2019. As I think it's also the dealer in shares, so Mr. A is also dealer, Mr. C is also dealer, so it will not be taxable as income from other sources. It will be taxable as in business income, as we are computing only income from other sources. So as we in the question it's given over there that we have to calculate income from other sources and capital gain, so it will be taxable in the hands of A Limited as business income when it sells the shares, but no price is given, so we don't have to compute any business income, and question is also not saying about to calculate business income. Further, on 1st November 2019, Mr. A took possession of property building that is booked by him 2 years back at 20 lakhs. Okay, stamp duty value on the day of the property as on 1st November 2019 was 32 lakhs, and on the date of booking was 23 lakhs. Okay, he has paid 1 lakh by an account pay check as down payment on the date of booking. Okay, so on the date of booking he has paid account pay check, so 23 lakhs will be taken as stamp duty value for the purpose of calculation of income from other sources. Okay, on 1st March 2020 he sold the plot of land at Faridabad for 7 lakhs. That is point number 3. He sold the plot of land of which he was acquired free of cost, which was taken free of cost from Mr. B. So it will be capital gain. 2 lakh will be capital gain. Okay, 2 lakh will be income from other sources. So sorry, 2 lakh will be capital gain in the hands of Mr. A, as it is 50 at 56,210 is applicable, so cost of acquisition of that property will be 5 lakhs and in capital gain will be 2 lakhs. Compute the income of Mr. A chargeable under the head income from other sources and capital gain for the assessment year 2021. Okay, so computation of income from other sources of Mr. A for the assessment year 2021. Cash gift is taxable under section 56(2)(10) since it exceeds 50,000, as I said. Since bullion is included in the definition of property, therefore when bullion is received without consideration, same is taxable since the aggregate fair market value exceeds 50,000, as I said. Stamp duty value of the plot of land at Faridabad received without consideration is taxable under section 56(2)(10), same 5 lakhs. Difference of 2 lakhs in the value of shares of X Limited purchased from Mr. C, a dealer in shares, is not taxable as it represents a stock in trade of Mr. A. Okay, since as I said Mr. A is a dealer, since Mr. A is a dealer in shares and it has been mentioned that the shares was subsequently sold in the course of his business, such shares represents the stock in trade of Mr. A. The difference next point number 5, difference between the stamp duty value of 23 lakhs on the date of booking and the actual consideration of 20 lakhs paid is taxable under section 56(2)(10) since the difference exceeds 1 lakh, being the higher of the two. That is, two things we have to check, that is higher of the two, that means it's 50,000 or 5% of the consideration. 5% of 20 lakhs, that is 1 lakh, higher of the two is 1 lakh, and the difference between 23 lakh and 20 lakh is more than 1 lakh, so it will be difference will be taxable under the income from other sources. So income from other sources is coming to 9.35, 9,35,000, and now we have to compute capital gain of computation of capital gain of Mr. A for the assessment year 2021. Sale consideration is 7 lakh and cost of acquisition deemed to be the stamp duty value charged to tax under section 56(2)(10) as per section 49(4), that is 5 lakh. Cost of acquisition will 5 lakhs, as 5 lakhs has been taxed in under the head income from other sources. See here, as tax income from other sources, so it will be cost of acquisition will be taken as 5 lakhs. Short term capital gain, note there is given over here, note the resultant capital gain will be short term capital gain since for calculating the period of holding the period of holding of previous owner is not to be considered. Okay, period of holding of previous owner will not be considered. So next illustration is illustration number 5. Next is illustration number 5. Discuss the taxability or otherwise of the following in the hands of the recipient under section 56(2)(10) of the Income Tax Act 1961. Akhil HUF received rupees 75,000 in cash from NICE of Akhil, daughter, that is daughter of Akhil's sister. Akhil is the Karta of the HUF. It will be taxable because it has been received from a non-relative. So answer is taxable amount rupees 75,000. Sum of money exceed rupees 50,000 received without consideration from a non-relative is taxable under section 56(2)(10). Daughter of Mr. Akhil's sister is not a relative of Akhil HUF since she is not a member of Akhil's HUF. Okay. Next, Nitisha, a member of her father's HUF, transferred a house property to HUF without consideration. The stamp duty value of the house property is 99 lakh. So it will not be taxable in the hands of HUF because it has been received from the HUF member, as Nitisha is a member of the HUF. Okay, so it won't be taxable. So taxability, it's not taxable, amount is nil. Immovable property received without consideration by HUF from its relative is not taxable under section 56(2)(10). Since Nitisha is a member of HUF, she is a relative of HUF. However, income from such asset would be included in the hands of Nitisha under section 64(2), that is clubbing chapter. Okay, as you all know, in clubbing chapter, any amount given to its relative will be taxable in the hands of the transferor itself. Okay, so next, Mr. Akshat received 100 shares of A Limited from his friend as a gift on occasion of his 25th marriage anniversary. The fair market value of that on that date was rupees 100 per share. He also received jewelry worth rupees 45,000 from his nephew on the same day. So as we all know, income from other sources, whatever amount is received, whatever is received in excess of 50,000 will be taxable under the head movable property. Should be aggregated, na? So shares is also covered in the movable property, jewelry is also covered in the movable property, so it will be aggregated, and if as the aggregate amount exceeding 50,000, so it will be taxable under the head income from other sources. Let's see the answer. It is taxable 55,000 as per provision of section 56(2)(10). In case the aggregate fair market value of property other than immovable property received without consideration exceed 50,000, the whole of the aggregate value shall be taxable. In this case, the aggregate fair market value of shares is 10,000 and jewelry is 45,000, exceed 50,000, hence the entire amount of 55,000 shall be taxable. Okay. Now point number 4 is Kishan HUF gifted a car to son of Karta for achieving good marks in 12 board examination. The fair market value of the car is 5,25,000. So car is not covered in the definition of movable property under the head income from other sources, so it won't be taxable as it has Kishan HUF has gifted car to son of Karta, so it won't be taxable in the hands of Mr. Son's Karta. Okay, so not taxable, the amount is nil. Car is not included in the definition property for the purpose of section 56(2)(10), therefore same shall not be taxable. Okay, now illustration number 6. Mr. Hari, a property dealer, sold a building in the course of his business to his friend Mr. Rajesh, okay, who is a dealer in automobile spare parts, for 90 lakhs on 1st January 2020, when the stamp duty value was 150 lakhs. Okay, the agreement was however entered into on 1st September 2019, when the stamp duty value was 140 lakhs. Okay, agreement was entered before, the stamp duty was 140 lakhs. Mr. Hari has received a down payment of 15 lakhs by cross check from Mr. Rajesh on the date of agreement. Discuss the tax implication in the hands of Mr. Hari and Mr. Rajesh, assuming that Mr. Hari has purchased the building for 75 lakhs on 12th July 2018. Next part is, would your answer be different if Hari was share broker instead of property dealer? Okay, so as we see that Mr. Hari is a property dealer, so it will not section 50C won't be attracted as it is in the nature of his stock in trade. So section 43CA will be attracted. Okay, and in the hands of Mr. Rajesh, he is a dealer in automobile spare parts. So he's having a business of automobile spare parts. So the property which he has received should be in the will be in the nature of capital asset. So we'll see whether also other sources is applicable or not. We'll see in the sums. And second part is if he's a stockbroker, Mr. Hari is a stockbroker, then section 50C will be attracted. Then we'll see section 50C says, and there will be no change in the taxability of Mr. Rajesh, as he's a, in that case also he's a the property which he has received will be treated as capital asset itself in the second case also. Second case and first case answer will be same in case of Mr. Rajesh. So case 1, tax implication if Mr. Hari is a property dealer. In the hands of Mr. Hari, the provision of section 43CA would be attracted since the building represents his stock in trade. Okay, and he has transferred the same for the consideration less than the stamp duty value, and the stamp duty value exceeds 105% of the consideration. We have to see both the thing, na? So under section 43CA, the option to adopt stamp duty value on the date of agreement can be exercised only if the whole or part of the consideration has been received on or before the date of agreement by way of account pay check or draft, or by use of electronic ECS through a bank account, or through such other prescribed mode on or before the date of agreement. In this case, since the down payment of 15 lakh is received on the date of agreement by cross check and not account pay check, the option cannot be exercised. As we see that this 4 mode has been prescribed, that is check, account pay check, draft, ECS, any other electronic mode, but they have paid the amount has been paid by a cross check, so it will date of agreement won't be taken. Okay, so 150 lakh will be taken instead of 140 lakhs. Therefore 75 lakhs being the difference between the stamp duty value on the date of transfer, that is rupees 150 lakhs, and the purchase price of Mr. Hari is 75 lakhs, would be chargeable as business income in the hands of Mr. Hari, since stamp duty value exceeds 105% of the consideration. Okay, in the hands of Mr. Rajesh, since Mr. Rajesh is a dealer in automobile spare parts, the building purchased would be capital asset in his hand. Okay, he has business of spare parts and building will be treated as capital asset. The provision of section 56(2)(10) would be attracted in the hands of Mr. Rajesh, who has received immovable property being a capital asset for inadequate consideration, and the difference between the consideration and stamp duty value exceeds for 40 lakhs, being higher of the 50,000 and 5% of consideration, 5% of, that is 5% of 90 lakhs. Okay, next, therefore 60 lakhs being the difference between the stamp duty value of the property on the date of registration, that is 150 lakhs, and the actual consideration, that is 90 lakhs, would be taxable under section 56(2)(10) in the hands of Mr. Rajesh, since the payment on the date of agreement is made by a cross check and not by an account pay check, draft, or ECS, or through such other prescribed electronic mode. Okay, now we see the second case, that is tax implication if Mr. Hari is a stockbroker. Okay, 650C will be attracted. In case Mr. Hari is a stockbroker and not a property dealer, the building would represent his capital asset and not stock in trade. In such a case, the provision of section 50C would be attracted in the hands of Mr. Hari, since building is transferred for a consideration less than the stamp duty value, and the stamp duty value exceeds 105% of the consideration. Okay, answer would be same, but provision is different, will be applicable. Thus 75 lakhs being the difference between the stamp duty value and the on the date of registration and purchase price, that is rupees 75 lakhs, would be chargeable as short term capital gain. Okay, it may be noted that under section 50C, the option to adopt the stamp duty value on the date of agreement can be exercised only if whole or part of the consideration has been received on or before the date of agreement by way of account pay check or draft, or by use of electronic clearing system through a bank account, or through such other prescribed mode on or before the date of agreement. In this case, since the down payment of rupees 15 lakh has been received on the date of agreement by a cross check and not by account pay check, the option cannot be exercised. This thing, that is account pay check, bank draft, electronic clearing system, it's applicable, same thing is there, but section is different. In the hands of Mr. Rajesh, same provision as was given above. There would be no difference in the taxability of Mr. Rajesh in the hands of Mr. Rajesh whether Mr. Hari is a property dealer or stockbroker. Therefore, the provision of section 56(2)(10) would be attracted in the hands of Mr. Rajesh, who has received property, immovable property being a capital asset, for inadequate consideration, and difference between the consideration and stamp duty value exceeds 4.5 lakhs, being the higher of 50,000 and 5% of the consideration. Therefore, 60 lakhs being the difference between the stamp duty value of the property on the date of registration and the actual consideration, that is 90 lakh, would be taxable under section 56(2)(10) in the hands of Mr. Rajesh, since the payment on the date of agreement is made by cross check and not by account pay check, draft, or electronic clearing system, or through such other prescribed electronic mode. Okay, now it's a last illustration. With last illustration, that is illustration number 7. Interest on enhanced compensation received by Mr. G during the previous year 1920 is rupees 5 lakhs. Out of this interest, 1,50,000 relates to previous year 16-17, 1,65,000 relates to previous year 17-18, and rupees 1,85,000 relates to previous year 18-19. Discuss the tax implication, if any, of such interest income for assessment year 2021. The interest received, interest of rupees, as we all know that whenever the enhanced compensation is received, then it will be taxable whether it relates to any year. Interest on enhanced compensation when it is received is taxable under capital gain, but interest on enhanced compensation will be taxable under the income from other sources, and 50% will be getting a deduction under section 57. So the entire interest of 5 lakhs would be taxable in the year of receipt, namely previous year 1920. The interest on enhanced compensation taxable under section 56(2)(8), that is 5 lakhs, less deduction under section 57(4) at the rate of 50%, that is 2,50,000. Interest chargeable under the head income from other sources is 2,50,000. So that's it with all of the illustrations. So I've done with the illustrations. I'll be giving the exercise videos soon. So that's it for today. If you have liked the videos, please like, share and subscribe, so that it will help me to motivate more and upload more and more videos of other chapters. And please click you can click on the bell icon to get notification and update of the new videos. Okay, thank you very much. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe.